watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Business Access.
Business Access TV.
Serious about business.
Business Access TV comes to you from the Jamaica Pegasus in New Kingston for the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Jamaica Business Seminar focusing on the theme, Achieving Growth, Sustaining Viability. I am Tamara McHale. We'll have more in just a moment. We're here having a quick chat with Mr. Sixto Coy, and he's of course the president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Jamaica. We're just trying to get a bit of background on the importance of this organization. Mr. Coy, it's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so tell us, how long has this organization been around and how important is the IACJ?
The ICAJ has been around for over 50 years. Its mandate is to control the operations of chartered accountants in Jamaica. For you to be a practicing member to sign off on financial statements, you have to be a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Jamaica. That's a requirement by law. So all auditors that sign financial statements have to be a member of the Institute. Apart from that, we do provide a lot of training for our members. Continued professional development is key, and chartered accountants, as you know, hold a lot of responsible positions in the country, so training is required. So the Institute does play its part. On behalf of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Jamaica, I welcome you to the 2019 Business Seminar. The theme, Achieving Growth, Sustaining Viability, is based on the premise that rapid and constant change in the global business environment demand our attention. We at ICAJ therefore felt it necessary to expose participants to current business trends. Today's business seminar features several dynamic speakers and panelists from various backgrounds. The presentations and discussions will cover critical issues that affect business and society. The topics have been carefully selected to make you aware of potential risks and the impacts these may have on your business and the corporate environment. Let us play our part in creating new avenues for Jamaica to achieve growth and sustain viability as we take our rightful place in the global economy.
Today, we have amongst us our keynote speaker, Mr. William Mahfood, Jamaica's business guru. Mr. William Mahfood is chairman of the Wisynco Group. His career began as a warehouse supervisor at Wisynco Trading, working for the family, learning the ethics of hard work. This followed with an exceptional 20-year stint as the company's managing director, then the appointment as chairman of the Wisynco Group in 2014. Beyond Wisynco, the former PSOJ president is passionate about building a stronger Jamaica. He has served on teams in support of national interest and community upliftment. Here to give us his reflections on Jamaica's business environment and strategies to achieve growth is Mr. William Mahfood. Please make him welcome.
I really do feel very, very honored to be here. I was, in a ride coming up in the elevator with a young lady who is an accountant, of course. And I said, I think accountants have the best sense of humor, so I'm going to try as much as possible to keep you engaged. Today, I'm going to speak a little bit about how, in the environment that we're in, how Wisynco achieves growth sustainably. And that is really, I think, the key to the presentation. I want you to really contemplate for a minute, what does real growth look like? Well, if you looked at some of the top companies in the United States that have grown really crazy in the last 10 years, companies that some of them didn't even exist 10 years ago, And one of the most important common threads that I've noticed, and this is what I really want to focus on, is how they treat people. So for me, as an executive over the years, I have also really focused on that. So one of the key messages that I want to try and get across today is that companies, countries, industries, it doesn't matter what you want to look at, it's 100% going to achieve sustainable growth through the development and the treatment and the impact on their people. Our mission statement is to improve the lives of our people. And so you ask yourself, well, how do we do that? So I'm going to speak a little bit about how we engage with the people in our organization, how we continue to improve the lives of our people. And I want to focus on, one is on the area of remuneration, the other is on the area of engagement, and the most important is on the area of development. Looking at the Wisynco team, today we have just over 2,500 direct employees at Wisynco. In our affiliated companies, and we now have a number of affiliated companies, the total Wisynco affiliated employees is close to 5,000. And one of the things that we focus on in terms of, on the remuneration side, Wisynco, we realize that in the current environment, there is a lot at the lower level of the team members, there was a lot of movement of people. With unemployment coming down at the levels it currently is, what we saw and what we realized was we were losing a lot of people who were on the line staff. We see it in the restaurant business, and we see it also in our warehouse and manufacturing. So we looked at it, and in July of this year, we gave a 25% salary increase to every single employee at the lower level of our teams. I'm not going to stand up here and profess that we have the best salaries in the industry, but what we have done is we have also looked at other ways to improve performance through incentive. So we have put in place a number of other additional measures for remuneration. Our entire line staff now in like the warehouse and distribution also get a performance-based incentive. Wisynco also has probably one of the most, I would say, dynamic profit share schemes in the country. 15% of the company's net profit after tax is paid out in profit share to our entire team. So almost $500 million last year was paid out to our entire team members as profit share. We realized that there was even more ways to get better performance, better engagement from our employees, and this year we're going to be changing it to, rather than paying it out once per year, we're going to pay it out quarterly. Never, ever regret paying people for performance, and that is the most important message as far as compensation. In terms of Wisynco, the performance basically speaks for itself. I think if you consider, the other side of the equation where the people are concerned is really development. So over the last few years, the challenge that I've come across personally, and I've asked our entire team to look at, is how do we develop future leaders in the organization for continuity, sustainability in the organization's development and growth. Our last quarter revenue grew 36%. Now, that is not a small task. So in all areas of the organization, we are seeing tremendous need, tremendous demand, and that is now manifested itself in our leaders, in our team, in the ability for us to continue to grow and sustain that growth through development of the people. We've put in 2 or 3 areas of development. So one of the areas, we have a program called LEAD. I should know what it stands for, but I apologize. It is basically looking at within the organization all of the top talent and bringing them in on an ongoing basis for building their capabilities to be able to put them through the organization in more senior leadership roles. And it is one of the most important programs that we have started in the last few years. So that is on the people side. Then you have the customers. And you know, we always say, well, our customers are our most important constituents. Well, the reality is the people internally are actually the most important constituents. Now, if I speak to a customer, I wouldn't tell them that. I'm going to tell them that they are the most important. The reality is, if your team members are not happy and satisfied, they will portray an image to your customers that is extremely negative. So, if you want happy customers, make sure you have happy team members. So, all of this basically is manifested itself at Wisynco in 36% revenue growth in the last quarter. And for those shareholders of you who are here, clap yourselves. And I continuously push the team to do better. 52% growth in net profit before tax for the last quarter. I actually anticipate that within 2 years, I think it's possible, Wisynco can double its revenues. After all of that, what have we achieved? Well, I mean, Wisynco now has, in the last 7 or 8 years, 14% compounded annual growth rate. A return on shareholder equity of upwards of 26%. In the last quarter, our return on equity was 39%. Who did it? Well, it's not me. The truth is I had very, very little to do with it. It's a team. And that is really what I think the clear message is today. What makes countries achieve growth sustainably are the people. That's the key message that I want to get across. I want to talk quickly now on the other side of what the company has accomplished. I don't have to tell you about, you know, unfortunately this podium is not flat, so I couldn't put my bottle of water, the finest water from under the earth, on the podium. Thank you very much. But as all of you know, if you ever see me in public, I always have a bottle with me. That is delicious. But I want to talk about innovation, because the reality is one of the key sort of tenets of our success has been innovation. Innovating products, innovating business opportunities, innovating the way that we go to market, innovating our distribution. And if you look at, you know, I'm going to give you a quick story about water, as we say. The brand itself is only 17 years old. We started in 2002, and you know, many of you might have heard the story, but basically we could not get people to buy bottled water on the street. It was something that we had a big challenge. It was only available in certain areas. So the key for us to grow the business was look at the distribution and create opportunities for consumers to get bottled water at any location where other beverages were sold. And so we came up with a concept at the time to put bigger soft drinks put 6 bottles free in a case of bigger soft drinks, giving it to the smaller outlets, and that's how bottled water eventually became available. The rest is history. I mean, today it is the #1 beverage by far in the country of any brand, of any type of beverage, whether alcoholic or otherwise. And we have had tremendous spin-offs. So if you look at Cran Water, for example, the product that is now a huge brand. It is the 2nd largest beverage brand in the country, and it is now spinning off sparkling. We have melon flavor. We have different sizes and formats. So Our team is continuing to innovate, and that is one of the core sort of abilities for us as a company to keep growing sustainably. While we have gotten big, my biggest fear has always been to become, slow. So we always, we constantly speak about at our executive sessions, how do we remain agile? How do we continue to transform? And we do transform. People who have worked in Wisynco know that we go through constant change in terms of our sales structure, our route to market, how we engage with customers, even in how we engage with the people. Because people's needs change, the team members have growing concerns about areas that they always are going to be changing. We always look at ways to continue to improve and reinvent ourselves. That has been one of the cornerstones of success as well. And then finally, we continue to invest in Jamaica. We're very, very committed. Today, Wisynco, through its affiliated companies, Worthy Park and Tradewinds, is the largest agro-processing company in Jamaica. So we're not only investing in distribution, but we're, as shareholders, we're investing in agriculture. When everybody is running to leave sugar, Wisynco is heading into sugar. A lot of people actually would think we must be crazy, but the truth is that Jamaica has a cornerstone of sugar production, and I think that we must continue with it. Similarly, in the agro-processing juices, we're one of the few companies that have, for consumers now, you can get 100% juice, you can get 30% juice, you can get water, soft drinks. We have the full gamut of beverage offerings for every consumer, and that is really speaking to what our consumers need. So all in all, we're continuing to invest in Jamaica, continue to invest in our people, and I hope that many of you who are participating as shareholders continue to be pleased with our results, and I thank you very much. I don't know if there's any questions. Thank you very much.
What a riveting presentation there. Tell us, why was it important for you to focus on that topic of achieving growth and, ensuring sustainability, viability?
So, Tamara, thank you. Thank you for having me. One of the things that we have come to the appreciation in our economy here in Jamaica is that growth is one of the most riveting, sort of demanding factors for the economy. And with the eventual turnaround in our economy over the last 5 years, a lot of initiatives that have been put in place are driven towards that growth. So Wisynco as a company has had a record of growth, 14% compounded annual growth for the last 8 or 10 years. And with all of the initiatives that we have put in as a company, we have continued to see that growth and the expansion. This past quarter, our financial quarter ended September. We had probably one of the best quarters in the company's history. And all of these factors motivated by and driven by our people. And this is why I focused on that in my presentation.
Okay, and for those who may have missed some parts of it, what are some of the critical points, or what are the 2 major points you would actually want persons to leave with from your presentation today? Okay,
so the first is the people are at the center of everything that we do, and how they have been the drivers of that growth. And secondly is ensuring that we have the right environment, and the environment in terms of our consumers, their health, looking out for things like recycling initiatives and the environmental impact that we have as a company, and how we continue to focus on those areas.
Okay. And just recently, Jamaica was again lauded for being the best performing stock market in the world. What do you think, is the reason for this?
Well, when you have, companies, and not to blow our own horn, but when you have companies like Wisynco that come to the market and less than 2 years, 300% increase, those kind of moves help. I think combination of that, the factors in terms of lower interest rates, there's more access to capital. All of those factors are impacting positively on the stock exchange.
When we return, we look at how the trends in technology are affecting consumer behavior. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Jamaica Business Seminar, focusing on the theme Achieving Growth, Sustaining Viability. More informative conversations coming up.
You've asked us to address the topic of trends in technology affecting consumer behavior. And I take it that your interest is not so much in the consumers themselves, but what their behavior means for your business and its growth and sustainability. And in your blurb, you mentioned talking a little bit about the impact of the mobile phone and the internet, which perhaps are the most visible manifestations of the drivers that are currently impacting how technology affects people's behavior. But most of you who are of the same vintage as I am would appreciate that the mobile phone and the internet have been around for the better part of 25 years. I had my first mobile phone when I was working with the Jamaica Telephone Company, and I date myself, right? Because the name Jamaica Telephone Company is about 4 generations back. We've gone through Telecoms of Jamaica, Cable and Wireless, Lime, Flow, so I'm probably dating myself. But I had my first mobile phone in 1996. And I used to pack it up, put it in the car. It was in like a little suitcase. And that was my mobile phone then. So mobile phones have been around for a long time. The internet has been around well before early 90s and the web around then. So these are not new phenomena. So what we perceive, what we sense in terms of the things that are driving the behavior of consumers is a more recent issue. And so perhaps the mobile phone and the internet are not the primary drivers. Perhaps they are just key components, nevertheless, in a larger ecosystem that's driving this paradigmic shift. And so that's what I want to talk about a little bit. Social media is a far greater influencer on people's awareness, the information they consume, and their buying choices than any other form of traditional media or communication channels. People's attention span and their bandwidth for communications is 7 seconds. So the goldfish is now ahead of us in terms of attention to detail. And 128 characters. Well, Twitter is now 200 and something, right? You can thank the president to the north for that. And the mobile phone is of greater value to people than toothbrushes or sex. So that is the consumer that we're dealing with today. So this is far more fundamental than the internet or the mobile phone. Those are quite important components of this emerging digital ecosystem. But there are a set of fundamental rules that we need to understand as businesses, as professionals, to really begin to strategize for how we deal with this transformation. First of all, there are a set of rules that drive the digital economy. Moore's law, every 18 months, processing power holds constant, cost is constant, processing power doubles. So this mobile phone that I have in my pocket right now is more powerful than the mainframe computers that I was running, and I was working with Alcan maybe 20, 30 years ago. They're more powerful than those mainframes, right? So it means that processing power is growing rapidly. Technology gets relentlessly faster, smaller, cheaper. And every year you can buy for the same price twice what you bought last year. There's no other commodity that exhibits that behavior besides technology. Metcalfe's law, the usefulness of a network equals the square of the number of users. One fax machine is useless, right? Yeah? two fax machines, okay, I can communicate with one person. A network of fax machines, all of a sudden the utility increases exponentially. And that's the effects of the internet, right? So we call network externalities, network effects. And the third law, Gilder's law, the amount of globally available bandwidth grows at least 3 times faster than computer power. So as fast as computer power is growing, bandwidth is growing 3 times as fast, which means that the network becomes the computer. Cloud computing, desktop computing will soon be a thing of the past. Nowadays, when my son communicates with me, he does it in Google Docs, not on Microsoft Office, which is premises-based. And because I'm old school and I like to download it to a Word document and then do stuff, he says, "What are you doing? That's so inefficient." Right? So the network becomes the processing platform. And these are significant laws that drive a set of disruptive technologies. So cloud computing, don't think of cloud computing as a business. Don't think of cloud computing as just an alternative, cheaper form of computing. Think of it as a way of driving business agility. Data is a new oil in this environment. So data is not anymore stuff that we collect from people by asking them questions. It is exhaust. It emerges as a result of commerce, social interactions, Internet of Things, or use of the mobile phones. And it is the primary pillar for the digital economy. And that drives, in organizations, artificial intelligence, advanced analytics, and I think you hear a little bit more about that later. And then there's social media, the digital channels of engagement. This is where public sentiment, opinions, and consensus is shaped and influenced, and you ignore it at your peril. Just ask the people who participated in the last elections in North America, right? Social media was a big influencer. So when we think about technology and the trends and the influences, these are the things that drive those activities. And Google is just everywhere. They know everything. My colleagues there know how much I travel. Whenever Google each year tells me, here are the 20 countries you've visited, and here are all the locations you've been, and here's where you've gone, that's disturbing. Do I switch it off? No, because of the convenience of it. So the question is, in this environment, in this emerging environment, and these influences that are driving consumer behavior, very sophisticated technologies, right? Who is what my colleague Evan Duggan likes to speak about, the leader of reckon? Who needs to manage this? Who needs to make the decisions about how we embrace these technologies? So digital technologies and information technology are business assets, business resources. This is not a technology play. And this is a leadership imperative, right? So responding to these trends, and they're not trends anymore, they are here. It's useless talking about the coming digital or the emerging digital economy. The only thing that is emerging is the choices we make about how to embrace it and how to be ready for it and how to compete in it and how to excel in it.
How many of you would have turned back this morning if you had left home and realized that you didn't have your phone? Right. So Dr. McNaughton spoke to the big phone that he had to bulk around and stuff, and maybe 15, 20 years ago we may have left the phone at home, maybe. But we're not doing it today. And even if we leave and go about our day, we're turning back at some point. We're going back at lunchtime to get the phone or something of the sort, right? The internet has impacted our lives. It has changed how it is that we engage. Mobile phones have made it easier to access the internet. It has made it easier for us to stay connected. It has allowed us as consumers to maximize the value. The phones have allowed us as consumers to maximize that value of the internet. Being able to shop, being able to communicate, being able to access information. In Jamaica, we have fairly good cell service. We have fairly good coverage most of the places, except right now we have some issues, but talk to Flo and Digicel about that. In January, HubSpot said that we had more mobile subscriptions. We had more active active mobile phones in circulation than we had people in Jamaica. So you know that's everybody who have 2 phones on the desk there. We know about pharmacies accepting prescriptions via WhatsApp now. We know about PriceMart and Fontana having e-commerce websites that we can order our things. In the case of PriceMart, we can actually get our stuff delivered to us. Mailpack Local has a feature where we can order from supermarkets, pharmacies, and PriceMart, and they deliver the stuff to us. The proliferation of internet-connected devices has invoked a large-scale change in how we want to be engaged. We are consumers, right? IoT devices are becoming commonplace in our home and in our lives. Sometimes we don't even realize it. We don't realize how much we have become dependent on it. We think that we're protecting ourselves. We think that we, keeping the smart speakers away from the house so that they don't listen to us, but the phone listening to us and Google know everything. I accepted a long time ago that Google is just a part of my life. I'm gonna embrace it. Big Brother's gonna know everything. It's just how it is, and you know what? I'll take the convenience. I don't have anything to hide yet. But that's us on a personal level. But as a business, how does that affect what we do? As businesses, one of the big things that that the internet and these devices have disrupted for us is the way that we manage payment, the way that we collect or exchange or trade our commodities, our services. Our products are our value. That's how that's our representation of, this is what I have for you, this is what will benefit you, now give me some money for it. That disruption has caused businesses to have to be a little bit more flexible. We see things like, well, mobile money is not new. Moving money that way is not new. But it's growing as a payment option here in Jamaica. There's ATMs, there's a lot of point-of-sale systems. There is the whole gamut of different credit cards and debit cards. Visa and MasterCard are here. They are direct partners with the banks. They are direct partners with people like us, like MC Systems. You have things like the JUTC Smarter Card. JUTC says, I don't want no more paper in my bus. This is a way that I'm safeguarding my business. It's a way that I'm ensuring that I collect for the trip that you have come on the bus to do. No, it's not all wonderful. There are some challenges. There are some challenges in how it is that we manage this ecosystem. And those challenges come at a cost, a large cost sometimes. This ease of movement in money and this ease of movement in commodities, of goods and services, this borderless market has caused some, it has opened up trade. It has also opened up ability for fraudsters to do what they do best. And we see that happening in ATM skimming. You can take out they find ways to put devices in the card readers. Now we do things to combat that. We've changed out how it is that those card readers operate. We've changed the orientation so that the cards do not go in directly so you can't read the entire mag stripe. We have issues like terminal cloning. So your POS, your Verifone terminals, what happens is because of this openness of the market, they can go online and buy these cloned or knockoff terminals and conduct transactions, unfortunately. We do our best to manage it. We try to make sure that they don't get away from us, as we would say, in the market. This mobile money, this ease of movement, this electronic payment has also allowed scamming. We know about scamming. We know about a lot of scamming. We know about the card fraud. We know about it all. We can't allow it to stop us from doing business. We just have to be vigilant. We have to do what we can do to safeguard ourselves. Try not to use your credit cards on these websites that are not verified. You try to make sure that you don't show your PIN carelessly. Pay attention when you're using an ATM to the state of the ATM, state of the hardware. Make sure it's not shaky, that kind of thing. Micro businesses have the ability to they have lower fees because they have things like the mobile POSs that have allowed them to get a card machine at a lower cost than a traditional card machine. I have personally deployed point-of-sale machines in our fruits market. The internet and mobile technology has affected how and what we buy. It has fueled Jamaica's business economy greatly. Businesses must adjust strategy and introduce digital channels to engage customers, remain viable, and grow. Digital technology has changed everything.
So, no doubt, technology has empowered the consumer. We now have choices. It's no longer limited by location, but as we say, it's borderless. Are we there? How far are we from being globally competitive in a real way to take advantage of all the opportunities?
We have a long way to go. I think many of our businesses don't, and for the moment we have the luxury of not having to be urgent about it, because to a large extent the broader ecosystem has not evolved as it should. But we did some surveys last year of the leadership of many organizations. Many people recognize the importance of digital transformation, but also most organizations and most leaders confess that we have not really thought about what our strategy is or should be. And you have to look broadly across the ecosystem. I mean, our consumers, fortunately for most of our businesses, have not themselves yet made the transformation. Just ask the mobile payments providers who rolled out GKM Pay, the credit union, Quisk. Consumers have still not embraced digital means of payment to a large extent because cash is still king and there's a cultural barrier there.
Some very interesting conversations there from that panel discussion. We're, of course, at the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Jamaica Business Seminar. But it's not over yet. We'll have more when we return.
In sharing my journey through business, I'm going to speak more about the softer skills and the things that occurred during my business development. I know I was introduced as the CEO of Honeybun. I'm also past president of the Jamaica Exporters Association, now merged with the Jamaica Manufacturers Association, and a director on the Jamaica Manufacturers Association board. So it was 1982 when Honeybun started, and I'm sure many of you have heard this story before, so I feel so lame to tell it again. But if you want a journey, it has to start at the beginning. So I had just been married. My husband and I met in Canada, and we returned to Jamaica to start our business. He was in pastry business at the time, and I was a teacher at Campion College. So having graduated with my degree in psychology and math, my husband swore that I was going to use the psychology on him and the math for my students. However, he bought a business, which was Honeybun. At the time, Honeybun was a retail bakery in Spanish Court and Premier Plaza, for those of you who can remember. And in our Chinese heritage, the wife always just give up what she's doing and go and work in the business. So I took the line and I went to work with my husband in the business. We soon decided that I would manage the business because he had other business endeavors that he was pursuing, more in line with real estate and distribution. I'm going to skip forward to the 90s. That was 1982. In the 90s, we were hit, like many companies, with the devaluation. And the only thing I can remember out of that nightmare was that the dollar went, or rent went from something like 12,000 to 90-odd thousand. So that was a big hit for us. And so what did we decide to do was we decided to go into wholesale baking instead. This was a turning point for me in business because it was at that time that I recognized that challenges were entirely opportunities And I've just completely used chemistry to say C2O, challenges to opportunities. So every time I speak with a small business and there's a challenge, I'm always saying, what's the opportunity? So the opportunity for us was to borrow more money in a difficult time and convert the business to a wholesale business. So we engaged the same struggles as any SMEs that we have nowadays. You know, you don't have the skill sets for all the various functions. And it was a family business. So it was my husband and I at the time, but further on in the years to come, as the children graduated from university, they also came into the business. My daughter was a marketing manager, Crystal Chung. My son is now the chief operating officer. He manages production and the operations. And I have another son who studied business at UE, and he manages distribution. So I am totally blessed. If anyone was to ask me what was the single greatest thing we did to grow the business, it took me a while to recognize it because I didn't have a name for it when we were just a small business, but it has to be about governance. I know that in school, in high school, I don't know if there's anybody here who went to Peter and Paul, but I was actually called the class police, and that was not a nice name. So when I went into business, I was very focused on doing the right thing. And of course, I got a lot of flack for it because I remember in the days when you could go into customs and you have your customs friend and you pay for this and you get that. It was never me. I just couldn't do it. And all that time, I didn't know that what I was doing was I was building a culture of corporate governance. So when the junior market was provided, my auditor said to me at the time, Michelle, you need to go on the junior stock exchange. So people asked why. I asked him, I said, why should I? He said, because you're already doing everything a public company needs to do. So it's not going to be any problem for you. We were doing our financials, we were having quarterly reports, we were doing everything we should be doing. So that was a plus for us. There was almost no preparation. So having gone public, I have completely enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the privileges. It's a lot more work, but I really love work and I really doing the right thing. And I engaged it. I've met so many people. Social Jan was our mentor, and it has been a fantastic journey for us. We've learned so much. We've grown so much. What I want to jump to is 2019. So we've been on the stock exchange since 2012. And where's my passion now? I have 2 children in the business, 37 and 34, managing the business. And I came to the board and I said, I've been the president at the JEA. I know the needs of these small businesses, and I also know my purpose. I discovered my purpose through coaching. So for the last year, I was being coached personally in business, in strategy, in leadership, family business, everything. So the Honeybun Foundation 2019 will be launched on Tuesday. And this is something that has been in my heart for over 3 years now. And I'm so looking forward to it. The foundation's mission is to create powerful, and I'm going to repeat the word, powerful business models for SMEs and the creative sector. And what this means is that we will not have a cohort of 10 and a cohort of 50 or be engaged in one-on-one. What it means is that we're going to sit down, the directors on the foundation, myself, and maybe some of you also here today will be asked to join, to look for solutions for SMEs, solutions that are going to be big. I'd had a look at this and I said to myself, why? Why am I doing this? Why am I giving up my time? The answer is about Jamaica. It's about Jamaica.
Stay informed on all the happenings at the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Jamaica Business Seminar. We'll have much more when we return.
Most of you in here are accountants, right? So before, at the start of my journey, I really didn't like accountants. I just thought, and auditors, I really thought they were there to take my first chunk of profits that I earned, but that has since changed big time. So I love you guys, right? No? Yes, I love you guys more now because I see how important it is to have you guys as friends, close friends too, right? Over the years. So pretty much I'm like a regular Jamaican boy that passes common entrance for Kingston College, Fortis Forever, right? And on entering high school, I think that was just about when my parents separated, and of course the mom always end up with the kids, right? And being in entrepreneurship is in our culture, and our moms are great entrepreneurs. And recently I found out that Jamaica is ranked #1 in the Caribbean as a country where the citizens are involved in co-ownership of businesses, and in the top 10 in the world, which is good. So anyway, from that culture, and entering into high school, I saw how important it was with seeing my mom working very hard on her own to send me through school. But then I also saw my fellow students who were involved in business, their little hustle, so to speak, having more allowance than I did, right? So I started thinking through the whole 5 years at Kingston College, boy, this entrepreneurship thing is really cool, right? Because you get to have extra money. So I started to think about it and sow the seed that I have to do something. So my first thing was I had to get involved with the Junior Achievement Program in the schools that they had at the time, and which I did, and I became the vice president, which was good. So I dictate the ideas, and Boys Champs was coming up. So I was like, I need to solve a problem, and we need to be profitable, right? And I remember going to the Boys Champs, and one of the main things is that regular kids could not afford the jerseys. It was for the adults who were working, right? So I had to find a way to get a sponsor who would sponsor the cost for us to reduce the production cost for the jerseys. And, you know, to cut a long story short, it was very successful. It sell off, so to speak, Jamaican terms, right? Even though whilst going through Kingston College, you have very good mentorship programs and things. After leaving there, I had a little challenge there in the sense that I didn't have the right persons to really direct me as it relates to business. So I lose track pretty much and said, you know what happened? I have my car, and Cable and Wireless came about at the time, and I said, you know what, let's go into Cable and Wireless with a car. It's a good start, right? Until the pressures of corporate Jamaica start to hit you, where you have to get to work at 8 o'clock in the mornings to beat the traffic, right? And the expense of having a motor car, of course. And over time, you know what, I started to think, how can I use the opportunity at Cable and Wireless to help me with my entrepreneurship vision? So my take on it is, because at the time they had good educational grant, my take on it is that I have to be able to solve different problems, which means I have to be skilled in different areas, right? So I didn't focus on one thing too much to say, straight telecom engineering. So as I studied my telecom engineering studies, at the time things were changing globally. You started to hear about software, virus softwares and so on. So immediately I got certified in ethical hacking to know about, softwares to protect your computer system. So that was my mindset. And at the same time, the world had changed, because at that time you thought, in the 90s, you thought if you worked with JPS or Cable and Wireless, you could retire there, honestly. And you were comfortable until 2000 hit, and the whole thing of globalization and changes, and you're hearing like, whoa, redundancy, what's redundancy? So I was like, whoa, you get me? So you had to change your mindset, and immediately my entrepreneurship skills kicked in, and I was like, Dean, you really have to get back on track, because this is what you love. And when I see my fellow engineers that they got redundant from cable and wireless. I was like, whoa, with nothing much to do. I was like, what can you do? So when I look around me, I saw a lot of expats doing the work for cable and wireless, a lot of Chinese, or I think Japanese at the time. And I was like, but wait, we're trained, well trained, and we can do the job, right? So I started to think about it, and the same time I started Connect Services Limited, which the name came about, say I wanted to bring things together, connect things together. And I didn't know much persons, I didn't have much connection, so to speak. So outside of maybe on the little party scenes and so on. So I did a business plan is very important, right? At that time, I didn't even know what a business plan was, but somehow I figured it out, did a business plan, and I went to Flo, who just came to Jamaica to do their expansion work, right? And honestly, I tell you, I just prepared, went to arrange for a meeting with a director there, and I called up some of my engineer friends and said, listen, I actually told them I had a contract before I even got the contract, right? But I told them that, listen guys, we're having some projects coming on stream, just be ready. And I went into the meeting with the director of Flow at the time, and I was like, I have a team, this is me, I have a team of engineers, and we are ready to build out your network and thing. And remember, I've never done this before on my own, you know, right? And what a good conversation. I was very positive. So, you know what, in life you have to be very positive, very, very positive and things. So my positive energy was good. And you know what, they gave me the contract. And over time, they started giving me more jobs. And you know what, the money started to come in. And at the same time, I'm excited and you know what, without a mentor, so to speak, this thing of accountants to me was really important at the time. I remember the first links I get to an accountant, and they come in and said to do an audit, it's gonna be like $500 or something thousand out of my first year revenue of $1 million. I was like, Excel is gonna do it for me, right? but wait, so yeah, I was like, I'm the Excel king, I'm good. So the thing is, your business start to grow now, you feel good, and the telco come back to you and says, because this is how the telco work, they'll come back to you and says, we have the entire Kingston to build out. If you want it is yours because you're doing good. If not, we can find somebody from overseas. I'm like, hell no, right? So immediately I went to the bank, and the bank was like, yeah. So I am there thinking that the bank, I'm sending a lot of money to the bank, so I'm a very good customer. And I pay my credit card bills. So listen, I need $10 million, I need it in 2 weeks' time. And all of a sudden, somebody come back to me, sir, where is your financial statement? I was like, whoa. So I do of course, my little Excel thing, just no matter how put together with some purple color and thing and it night, right? They're not accepting it. So, you start to learn the importance of having accountants. Oh man, auditors. Yes, it rough. I tell you, writing the first check for the audited report, it was rough, I tell you. It traumatized me for the first week. But you know what? In terms of being an entrepreneur, as was said before, that you have to love Jamaica. So I love Jamaica, and I always believe that we have to help each other, right? In terms of success. And one of the things I look at is, how can I create more jobs for young folks that does not have the opportunity, right? And what we have been doing over the years is we have been working with art and even the high schools and even some university students, because you don't have specific telecom related courses that give you the direct hands-on to hit the real world to set up a network for you guys island-wide. You don't have it. So you'll have the theoretical knowledge, but the hands-on experience is not there. So I started like a charity, Connecting Minds, which pretty much we bring high school students in maybe 20 each year. We expose them to like 20 different career choices, give them hands-on, and where they can start to learn about new technologies and what is out there. And it will help them in terms of their decision-making process. And that's what we try to do. Things have changed over time. It's not now about, boy, you love doing what you're doing. That's just a part of it. It's like a puzzle where you have to put things together. So, you have to have good accountants. You have to know what your bank, after a while, depends on the nature of the business that you're in. Capital is very important. Over time, I learned from my accountant that it's very important to know what the banks want. Even though, you try to get over this being traumatized by paying your accountant that big figure each year. So to help me with that, I break it down per month and divide it up so I have them coming each month. So at least mentally I'm paying them less, right? Each month. But it works for me. And I'll put this out to you, to the accountants out there and auditors out there. Seminars like this is very important for medium-sized businesses and small businesses, because sometimes persons don't know how important you guys are, and you have to reach out to persons and invite them here, which is very good.
I am Tamara McHale. Keep watching Business Access TV. Serious about business.